with inverted tongue, from whence does fulfillment come? When I expel from this mortal shell, will I die for living up? Though you're someone I can't see, cry to me, and I do.
Good evening. My name is B. Harris, publisher of the Denver Urban Spectrum. As a voting demographic, the youth vote is 18 to 24 years old. Many policy areas affect them, such as education, the juvenile system, and healthcare. Voter turnout has been decreasing for all age groups, but young people have the lowest turnout. Ever since 18-year-olds were given the right to vote in 1972, they have been underrepresented at the polls. In 1976, 18 to 24-year-olds made up 18% of all eligible voters, but only 13% actually voted, underrepresented by 1/3. 7 out of 10 young people did not vote in the 1996 presidential election. 20% below the general turnout. During the 2000 presidential race, 36% of youth turned out to vote, and in 2004, the banner year in the history of the young vote, 47% of the American youth voted. In the 2008 election, the number of youth voters tripled and even quadrupled in some states. In 2008, Barack Obama spoke about the contributions of young people to his election campaign. In November 2016, it was estimated that 23 million young voters participated in the 2016 election, which was 50% voter turnout. Young voters supported Hillary Clinton, 55%, over Donald Trump, 37%. Among young people of color, Clinton won by even more decisive margins. But that was still not enough. So look where we are today. The Denver Urban Spectrum is joined now with Sister Circle for Our Voices, Our Vote Matters, as we listen to voices from Generation X and Y about the importance of voting on November 3rd. But first, let me introduce our co-host for this event. Young-Kombo is the Women's Voters Director for Biden Harris. Portia Prescott is the Sister Circle Coordinator. Bianka Emerson is the Colorado Coalition's Director, Biden for President, and LaToya Petty serves as the African American Outreach Coordinator. These women have all made it their sworn duty and mission to make sure Colorado voters make the right decision on November 3rd. Now I'd like to just introduce it to Young-Kombo.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. B. Harris, for that wonderful introduction. Again, my name is Danielle Young-Kombo. I'm the Women's Vote Director for the Colorado Biden-Harris campaign, and I am honored to be featured in the October issue of the Denver Urban Spectrum with several other Black Wonder Women. I just want to remind everyone that ballots in Colorado will start to be mailed to voters tomorrow, this Friday, October 9th. So it's time for everyone to make a plan to vote. Get your family, your friends, uncles, aunties, everybody needs to make a plan to vote. And what that means, making a plan, making sure your registration is up to date, making sure that you vote up and down the ballot for Democrats. We have to flip the U.S. Senate. We have Governor John Hickenlooper running for U.S. Senate, and we need to get him elected. We need to get Cory Gardner out of there. If you do need to go and update your voter registration, you can visit iwillvote.com. You heard Senator Kamala Harris in yesterday's debate mention that, and we absolutely need everyone to visit that website, iwillvote.com, to make sure your voter registration is up to date. Also, find out where your polling places are. In-person voting actually starts in Colorado on October 19th. So this is the time, everyone. You heard Vice President Joe Biden say in last week's debates that this race isn't about him. It's not about Donald Trump. It's about the millions of American families who are suffering during this crazy pandemic and economic crisis that we're dealing with in this country. So it is so important. Our vote matters. It is so important that you understand how important your vote is. Let me tell you, there are certain precincts that in the last election, we would have won had we had 3 more votes. So that's how critical it is for you to get out the vote on November 3rd, by November 3rd. If you can vote early, we would greatly appreciate that on the campaign, but also it just makes such a huge difference to know what we are working with so that we can make sure that we're getting everyone involved, because it's gonna take all of us, honestly. You heard Ms. B talk about our weekly Sister Circle. That is an event that we have created with the campaign to engage with Black women across the state of Colorado and all over the country. Actually, we've had some amazing speakers join us. And so this Sunday, October 11th at 1 p.m., we're going to be talking about our health, our mental health, our physical health, our wellness. So it's called Our Health is Our Wealth. And if you text AFAM, to 30330, you can get more information on that. This week we have Doug Imhoff coming in. That's Kamala Harris's husband. He'll be speaking about issues facing Coloradans. Everybody is working hard in this campaign and for this election. We're so proud of Senator Harris. I mean, she really killed it last night against Vice President Mike Pence. Well, I just want to make sure everybody goes to iwillvote.com. You know what? Dr. Ross is just an incredible human being, leader. He has one of the most adorable families I've ever seen. He's an educator, and he's also the CEO of the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado. And so please welcome Dr. Ryan Ross.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. First and foremost, I want to say, B, thank you so much for what you do, for what the Urban Spectrum does, being a voice in the community for so long, inspiring other people to have a voice, and being out front from a media perspective and in terms of asking young people what it is that we think about voting, why it is we think that's important. So just want to take a moment to say thank you, what you do, and the platform that you provide. This election is just as much about individuals like you as it is about our community and other things, making sure our small business owners have the ability to do business, and making sure that we support Black women. Too oftentimes when Black women are in need, nobody's around. But when we are in need, we're pulling on Black women to utilize and leverage and benefit from excellence. And so that's one of the reasons why this election is important for me. We have an opportunity to support an amazing, talented Black woman who has the ability to lead and has the experience and credentials necessary to lead our country into another direction. Quite honestly, getting more into, actually why I vote, it's the one thing that since 1619, white folks, supremacists, whoever you want to call it, that's the one thing that they've been trying to protect. They wanted to stop us from learning to read, and they wanted us to not be able to vote. And there's 2 reasons. That's because that's where the power is. And as we look at the minority majority shift, as we look at people hungry for equity, looking at people hungry for justice, if we come together collectively and vote, that's what we get done. And it's time to exercise our right. I hear people say, oh, 1 vote, it doesn't matter. It actually does. When I think about right here in Denver, Omar Montgomery, 214 votes. One vote matters. So everybody, we need to turn out. We need to turn out and vote. We need to exercise your right. Voting is your right. It's not a privilege. Voting isn't something for those other people who live in those other places. It is one of the single most important things that we can do to change the shift of equity, racism, and of justice in our society. And so we have to step up. Collectively, we have the voice to do that. We also have the opportunity, honestly, I'm foreshadowing, right? I'm foreshadowing a Harris Biden win. We have the opportunity to put a Black woman in the White House. And not just a Black woman, somebody who knows what she's doing, somebody who's qualified, and someone who, my daughter who's 5 years old has the ability to look up to. It's time, and it's time to hold people accountable. Once we do vote, then it's hold them accountable, because if somebody's not acting right, then we vote them out. But this is what we have to do. I'm really passionate about this, so I don't want to take too much time. I don't know how much time I have, and I don't even know if I answered the question right. But y'all get out there. This is the most important election of our lives. Sadly, we're not just voting for legislative things. We are voting for the very moral fiber of our country, right? There is a equity. I mean, there's a gap in leadership, in grace, in faith, in common sense. And that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the ability for liberty and justice for all, right? We've been talking about it for hundreds of years. It's now time to turn the tide and start to move in that direction so that everybody in every community can thrive. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is LaToya Petty. I'm the African American Outreach Coordinator for Biden-Harris, Colorado. And you know what? I just want to talk a little bit about why it is important for our young people to vote. You guys are voting for your future. This is whatever you decide to do now is going to affect you in years to come. So that's why it's important for you to get out and vote. That's why it's important for you to take your ballot, fill it out, read, understand what all of those ballot points are. Make sure your voice is heard, because this is what matters. What matters is that your voice is heard, because it is your future. Okay? So thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. Take care.
Kennedy, I would love to call on you first, since you are attending Howard University virtually at this point in time. So would love to hear from you. Kennedy, please speak.
Hi, my name is Kennedy Massey, as said before, and I'm attending Howard University School of Engineering. I just want to say that this election is one of the most important ones thus far, not because our civic duties or responsibilities have changed, but because the essence of American values hangs in the balance. For the sake of humanity, those who are truly educated know that you can no longer choose party affiliation as a justification as to why you chose one candidate over another. At the end of the day, the job of the president is to represent all American people, yet currently we have a president in office who continuously pits the Democratic and Republican parties against one another. This will be my first time voting in the presidential election, and I am wholeheartedly voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm begging you to vote for what's right. At this point in time, we have multiple examples as to what is wrong. I just want to say that if you choose not to vote based upon your own civic duty and responsibility, vote because people's lives are at stake, because they truly are. This is a very important election. Go vote, go get out there, go do your thing.
Thanks so much, Kennedy. Can we go to Cecile? Is that how you pronounce your name? Or is it Cecile?
It's Cecile.
Cecily, that's beautiful. Please share with us the importance of getting out the vote.
Okay, I wanted to start with a couple quotes. First off, my name is Cecile, like she has said, and it's Cecile Perrin. And I wanted to start with a couple quotes. Slavery is not abolished until the Black man has the ballot. Frederick Douglass said this in 1865. In 1957, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech called "Give Us the Ballot," and he spoke about the need for equal voting rights. And he said, "So long as I do not firmly and irrevocably possess the right to vote, I do not possess myself. I cannot make up my mind. It is made up for me. I cannot live as a democratic citizen observing the laws I have helped to enact. I can only submit to the edict of others. And then Barack Obama, of course, this year, 2020, said, this president and those in power, those who benefit from keeping the things the way they are counting on your cynicism. They know that they can't win over with their policies. So they're hoping to make it as hard as possible for you to vote and to convince you that your vote doesn't matter. That's how they win. That's how they get to keep making decisions that affect your life and the lives of the people you love. So these are just a few quotes that express the importance of voting. And here's my take. Voting isn't something that we should take lightly, especially in this time that we are living in now. So much is at stake. Lives are at stake, and if we do not vote, there's a higher chance that our lives will take a turn for the worse. Even though right now it seems like things can't get worse, can't get any worse, but they can. So the lives of our children, our children's children, will be affected greatly just by the outcome of this 2020 election. I heard people say, I have faith in the Lord that he'll just take care of it, and I don't want to go out and vote. But James 2:26 says faith without works is dead. So it's our time to have faith. We need to pray, but we also need to put in the work and go out and vote.
Absolutely, Cecile, that was wonderful, your remarks. But before you end, I want you to just share a little bit about your business. You are a business owner, and I know that Black women have been hit particularly the hardest with this pandemic and just trying to manage with, trying to get loans that aren't there, or maybe just taking a really long time to get. So if you could just share a little bit about your business, that would be wonderful.
So I started selling paparazzi accessories, which is $5 jewelry and other accessories like hair clips and things like that. I have on some of my jewelry right now, but I'm an independent consultant, and so everything is lead and nickel free. And my website is www.pieces with a Z at the end, not a S, piecesbling.com. And so, yeah, I just started August 20th, and I'm just excited for this opportunity. I also do photography and graphic design and videography as well. It's called Sweetz Photography and Sweetz Graphics.
I'm excited to hear these young voices. I have a little one in the back who will be voting for the very first time in this election. And getting the young to understand, I remember being at their age. And so, being an actress, being now mom, actress, and a business owner, as it's been tricky to get them involved in getting out the vote. It's hard to say your vote matters, this is the vote of your life, when they collectively don't understand that my Snapchat will be going, my TikTok will be going. And when I say we have the opportunity, it's the first time that the numbers are there. The numbers to independently get a Black woman elected into the White House as the vice president from, Kennedy, where you go, girl, from an HBCU, from a Black college, historically Black college, is beyond a historic moment. And so for those that are watching, you may watch this right now, or you may watch this a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Before, I am asking everybody to vote, not only as a mother, as a Black woman, as a sister, as a daughter, but as an ex-wife, but I'm asking to basically vote for our youth, because we have no social equity. When we talk about your FICO score, who makes that? Not only 20% of the African-American population experience the criminal justice system. So we've got to talk to our young people where they are. You'll never be able to work at Amazon or be in the glass ceiling or come out of school with student loans. They have raised student loans 0% interest within the last 6 months. How did that happen? Because Trump liked being Trump like being in power and looking good. So I just think that it's important. I don't want to wake up and we could have won this race because only across the region, the way the precinct works, one person, we were short one vote in each state, like one particular vote. And so we have to reach our young people where they are at TikTok, at Snapchat. None of that exists. You guys have to have a job. You have to get out of your parents' house. You have to have a future. You have to have an opportunity. We need at every level to do what it takes, how it takes to get a Black woman. Do you hear me? I mean, yes, Biden. No to Trump. But we're talking about history because that gives us equity, access. Everybody has a daughter. Every woman in here was told something, but we have to support our Black women. We've had Obama in office, and it wasn't like a one-time thing, and then we snapped, we had a Black man, you guys shoo, go away. We need Black people in the cabinet. We need Black people in the administration. We need Black people in leadership positions. We need white America seeing us in these leadership positions so that it can permeate through anything that we do in every state across the country. So I've had my piece, and I want to see this video with Anthony Graves, who is a phenomenal leader. I hope to see him in elections somewhere because these are people who connect back to the community. And Kamala is one of those people. Biden is one of those people. Delaware is a small state, just like Colorado has a small community. And I think it's time that we do whatever it takes to turn that vote. 5 million, we can lose by 5 million popular vote, and technically Trump will still win. It's the electorate. We have to stay hard and vote hard because we need to move those electorates to make sure that we get Biden and Harris in that White House. It is just that important because what we're saying is if we don't vote, we're saying yes to racism, yes to oppression, and yes to bigotry.
That's right. And no to decency.
And no to decency.
And civility. I mean, it shouldn't take all of that has happened for us to understand the significance of this election, especially for Black people, Black women. We did not see justice for Breonna Taylor, and maybe we won't. So we absolutely have to change, not just this administration. The president has the power to appoint judges. His administration has the power to appoint judges. So when we're thinking about the criminal justice system, the president and the administration that is under him has a lot more power than I think we realize. And we must absolutely do all we can to get out the vote in our community. So please go to iwillvote.com. Portia is absolutely right.
iwillvote.com, and then Danielle will say the texting, because the most important part is what she said. Trump nominated 135 federal appointee judges across the country, which means they're there forever. If they're 48, if that woman is 48 years old, she's there for the next 40 to 50 years, okay? There's no one. She is robbing a Black woman. That appointee should be a woman of color. And a Kamala who represents Southeast Asian, African-American women, immigrant, leading her way there, having an African-American father. I think we just really need to hone on. And I'm very passionate about this because I cried. I wept the next day after when Trump was elected. I wept because I knew we weren't voting. I was out knocking on doors in Montbello. I was going to Green Valley Ranch and understanding what was at stake. Understanding what was at stake in our community. They have erased the FICO scores. Blacks own less home than ever before. And then you have a president going, I've done more for Blacks than any other president except Lincoln. What, freed us as slaves? Seriously? I mean, I can't even, he's there because white men want him there. He is there because they don't want us there. They want to go back to 1940 or 1930. They don't want us economically empowered. www.iwillvote.com. Text your friend who you know is like, I'm going to just circle the colors however I want.
Yes.
No, please, young people, please, you have the power to get rid of racism. There's so many things that you can say about Anthony Graves. I mean, he's been a part of the community for so long. I mean, he's been a part of the Hancock administration. He's helped lead such an pivotal part, and he's been such a pivotal part of our city. He's helped employ young interns and young, I mean, I don't want to read his bio, but as a father, he is just a standout leader in our community, as a husband, as a father, as a, hopefully we'll see him one day in legislation. I know he ran one side, but I definitely think he embodies what decency, kindness, leadership means, not just to Colorado community, but to the American community. He just embodies he's just a beautiful soul. So I just want to thank, if you guys don't know who Anthony Graves is, please tune in to Cuts and Conversations. I don't know if we can have a chat where we can put it in, but listen to these men. There are an array of men, and Anthony Graves is he's a king among kings. That's all I can say.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Graves, and I've been asked to share my thoughts about why I'm supporting Biden-Harris for President and Vice President of the United States. You know, as I look across the country, I'm really concerned about the state of our nation. First, I'm really disturbed by the number of people who have died by the coronavirus because of the way that the Trump administration has mismanaged this crisis. If you're like me, perhaps you've lost someone to the coronavirus, or have had members of your family who have been impacted by this deadly disease. I feel strongly that if we had had the information from this administration about what to expect when they received it in the White House in January, I think it could have saved so many more lives and had a lesser impact on our community. I think that's inexcusable, and that this administration should pay for it at the ballot box. I'm also very concerned about the lack of integrity that's been showcased again and again by this White House. There are so many examples of when they have been less than forthright with the American people. And when you are in the highest office of the land, your words matter. Your integrity means something. And I think that when you're President of the United States, we should hold all to that standard. Third, I've been increasingly concerned about the erosion of First Amendment rights, civil rights, and voting rights in this country under this administration. There are so many people who have fought and died in our community to ensure that everybody can participate in this democracy. I don't believe that media should be shouted down or vilified because they paint a picture of this administration that's not rosy or that doesn't comport with their expectations for how they represent things. Last, and perhaps not least, I'm terribly concerned about how immigrants have been attacked and persecuted, really, under this administration. Everything from the Muslim ban that happened at the very beginning of the Trump administration to the way that they've talked about Mexican-American immigrants to this country. We are a country, a nation of immigrants. And so it's critically important for us to dignify people from all walks of life and to come together as a country, and that will never happen under this current White House. I'm proud to support Biden-Harris for President and Vice President, and I encourage you to get out and vote, check your registration, connect with your family members and friends to make sure that everybody has their voice heard. If you need information about your voter status, please text VOTE to 30330. That's VOTE to 30330. Thanks so much for your time, and take care.
2016 was the lowest percentage of votes in the Black community for like 20 years. So this is so important, and I know that we are doing everything we can in the Biden-Harris campaign to reach out to Black men in particular, to listen, to hear your concerns, and that's why we have events like Cuts and Conversations. Portia, do you have kind of the background on the Cuts and Conversations events and Make It Happen Mondays?
Make It Happen Monday is all of our business leaders connecting our business community. That's led by Denise Burgess, who is also the CEO of the Denver Metro Chamber, and she runs Burgess, her Burgess Enterprises. We relate to the business owner. I think a lot of our nature has been entrepreneurial. A lot of our African-American men are entrepreneurial, and women too. And I think the Make It Happen Mondays is tapping into the diversity of our entrepreneurial community and the touching on the touch points, like having access to lending and bank relationships, and how in the past that our African-American businesses have been overlooked. Then we have Cuts and Conversations, and that also you should watch on a national level. There's Cuts and Conversations on Thursdays led by Trey Baker. He's had some phenomenal speakers on. He had one of them that I really enjoyed was Don Cheadle, a native of Denver, talking about the importance of this election. And he wasn't only just talking about businesses, but he was talking about the intersectionality of the environment and equity. Our equity, our access to food, our community is food deserts. And so he talked about, Cuts and Conversations is an opportunity from Black men to talk to Black men who may have been disengaged, disenfranchised in what's happening in the country. But the one thing that is the turning tide in this election, and it is the Black man vote. It is, you have Snoop Doggy Dogg talking about he has never voted before. This is going to be the very first time that he has ever voted. You have LeBron James, doing a polling, turning one of the Brooklyn Nets basketball arena into a polling center and for people to be able to have access to voting in the inner city of New York. So I think Cuts and Conversations on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Trey, and at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, Cuts and Conversations. You'll hear from Vernon Jones, some Bronco players, Nugget players. I mean, not only that, high schoolers. I think it's important for Black men to engage in that conversation, us to be a fly on the wall. The biggest pressure that you have in America, we don't know what it's like to be a Black man in America, the most feared entity in white America. So I think it's important that we also make sure that we're reaching out to our Black men, we're supporting our Black men, and we're doing whatever we can to empower our Black man to be there for them. I don't know. I have a Southern daddy. We have gospel concerts for the Biden campaign. That's being led by Interfaith Alliances with Jill Wildenberg and Joshua Dixon. We've had some amazing singers. We're going to be doing Souls to the Polls, and we're going to have a fish fry, Make It Happen Monday, Souls to the Polls, Cuts and Conversations, and Sister Circles are going to all come together to bring that conversation together to see what we can do for that last haul on where we need to pick up ballots, where we can do phone banking online, virtually connecting to each other. I think we really have to do that, because I remember when Obama was running, I sponsored phone banking at my house and just fed nowadays strangers that just came to my house. But I just want to stress, mark your calendar for Sunday, October 18th at 1 p.m. fish fry. We're going to be supporting Black businesses, Black restaurants, and so much more. But we're bringing everybody together. And what I love about these conversations, you're going to see someone every single time you've never seen, and they're sitting probably 15 minutes away from you somewhere in the city.
We started out, these two men that are on here, I can always count on them. They're very special to me. Ryan Ross, he's been involved in my grandkids very heavily, and Reverend Q, he's just been involved. So I'm so glad that these were the bookends for this event. Because we are, we're not quite to 7, but this conversation I think is great. But I wanted Q at the end because I wanted to hear his message, and I wanted him to provide some wonderful, the impact that he can for our youth, as well as what Dr. Ross did. So, Reverend Q.
So there's a young man who grew up in Harlem, who had a chance to go to a historically Black college and university called Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. And he wrote these words: "I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat good and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table, and when company comes, nobody will dare tell me to go to the kitchen. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am American." And when I think about this quote that Langston Hughes said, it reminds me of why we have the importance of voting even on today. Is that it's very true that if you're not at the table, you may be what's for dinner. And that if we are not setting ourselves up to be in the positions to hear what's going on at the table, to have influence on what's going on at the table, then we'll continue to see the rights that those who came before us, who fought before us, continue to be taken. It's sad that the Voting Rights Act was over 50 years ago, and yet we're still fighting for voting suppression all throughout these yet to be United States. That it's sad that the Civil Rights Act was over 50 years ago, and yet we're still finding civil rights violations by the day, by the hour. And when we even think about what happened to Breonna Taylor, it's sad that as we watch the presidential, vice presidential, and all of these different debates around it, that nobody simply said it was wrong. That they had to bring up George Floyd and other men to justify what's happening in this country, because sadly enough, Black women by themselves are oftentimes not viewed as being enough. And so my vote counts. my vote matters. And I'm here to say not only to the young lady who's running for vice president that your voice and your vote is enough, but I'm saying to my daughter who's 11 years old, who just ran for student council, you can be something as well. That you have the power to be more than what you see, more than what people try to make you out to be. That somebody said that it couldn't be done, but you would a chuckle reply that maybe it can't, but you'll be the one who won't say so till you try. And that it's very important for us to have that representation at the highest level. I'm inspired by the fact that my very same child that I just referenced was born in an Obama era. And that in her mind, she started to believe she could be anything because of what she saw in the White House, because of what she saw on television, and that it was a good representation of who we are. And so it's not enough to say that somebody died for our right to vote. That's true. That somebody suffered for our right to vote. That's true. But that our right to vote is still very much so important because they're continuing to try to take it from you. I don't know if you've seen throughout the country, even right now, but voting suppression is at an all-time high. That they're trying to shut down different polling places, telling certain communities that they do not have the power or the right to vote. If you don't have transportation or access, they're trying to make it harder instead of easier for you to vote. And why is that? Well, because they know our vote matters, our voice matters, and that when we show up, the community changes. That when we show up, policies change. That when we show up, the White House has changed. And when we think about what has happened in this last administration, 139 judges have been voted in on different levels, and none of them African-American women. When we look at that, the significance of what that's saying, then we start to understand why the current administration said, well, the people who had tiki torches at Charlottesville were very fine people. We start to understand that even when asked to justify and or to condemn white supremacy, why the person who holds the office of commander-in-chief told a group of Proud Boys to stand by and to be ready. And as somebody who's been on the front lines, as somebody who's known what it's like to have a white supremacist point a gun at me and tell me that I should no longer live, that is a scary place to be, where our commander-in-chief is justifying or standing up for some of these things. So I know what we'll say. She's not perfect. He's not perfect. Well, guess what? Neither am I. And I've learned that those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And so I'm not going to say that she is the best and all the things that she's ever done is all of the right decisions. I'm not going to say Joe Biden is the best and all the things that he's done are the best things. But I will say that when we put it in comparison to what's currently in office, it's a clear choice that not only should we vote, but we better. Because if not, the very Black lives that we're writing about and putting on streets, that we're putting on signs, that we have people putting on t-shirts, may not make it to the next election.
You better go ahead and tell it. Thank you so much for those words. I just want to say that while we have expectations and will hold our leaders accountable, as the Black community, we must stand side by side as Black women and Black men. Our responsibility is to each other. And looking towards this election and getting out the vote, it's our responsibility to get our family, our friends, our brothers and sisters, everybody to the polls by November 3rd.
Can I say one final thing? The young lady who went before was making a lot of quotes about Dr. Martin Luther King and some others. And one of my favorite quotes around voting comes from a guy by the name of El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, also known by many as Malcolm X. And he says, "We don't see an American dream. We've experienced the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy." And if we think about what he was saying in the speech, the ballot or the bullet, he was saying that we have the power within our words and our vote to change the current reality in which we're living with. And if we do not, there is another force that is surmounting and coming about that we need to be worried about. And so before we get to the bullet, before we get to a civil war, before we get to violence, let's utilize the right that we have as Americans in this United States to vote. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Bianka Emerson, and I've been in electoral politics for about 20 years. What's important important about voting is that you have to understand that who you represent, who you elect to represent you in a representative democracy is important to maybe even the air you breathe, the water you drink, the roads that you drive on, even your health care. So it's important that your voice is heard because you have that right. People have fought and died for you to have the right to vote. And we shouldn't take that for granted. Yes, we have to respect those who came before us to make sure we have the option, the right to cast our vote, to make our voices heard in this process. Now, more than ever, is it important for you to cast a vote, for your voice to be heard. So let's make sure that we vote, we show up and let our voices, your voices, be heard in this process. So let's vote November the 3rd.
Those words were powerful, and I hope that they get shared by all around the country so that we can get people out to vote. And people in your generation, they need to vote, and younger generation. So I just want to thank everyone. Thank everyone for participating. I want to thank Miss Portia, Miss Energetic Portia. And also Danielle. What you guys are doing incredible. And I must tell everyone too, if you haven't read the Denver Urban Spectrum, go to our website, denverurbanspectrum.com. Read the story about the Wonder Women. There's 4 of them. 2 of them weren't able to come tonight. Read about the other 12 people that were featured on the Denver Urban Spectrum. denverurbanspectrum.com. You can download it and check us out. We've been around for 35 years, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to be able to provide a voice for people. And this month, because of the critical situation with getting the youth out, we had to focus on the youth. So pass the word, get them out to vote. We've got to do it, you guys. Everyone says this is the election of our life, and everyone knows that it really is. I mean, if you watch the news daily, every 10 minutes something changes. Every 10 minutes something is changing. So, but I want everybody to be safe, be careful, keep your family safe. We've got another wave coming. We've got another serious wave coming. So besides the election coming up, just take care of your family, take care of your life, and be kind to everyone. So I want to thank everybody. Anyone else got some more remarks?
I just want to say and recognize you, Ms. B, as being a part of Colorado herstory. You are a pillar in the community, being, an African-American woman-owned newspaper publisher, media person. I just greatly appreciate your work and for inviting all of us to the table.
Thank you. It's been a joy working with you guys over the last month too. So now, November 3rd, we're going to have another big party. So thank you, everyone.
Hello, I'm Mike Sawaya, the Sawaya Law Firm. We're coming up to an election this year. All of these elections are extremely important, probably some of the most important in the history of the United States. Every one of you who is eligible to vote must get out and vote. Educate yourself, please. Find out who stands for the issues that you believe in. Find out what you believe in, because if you make your voice heard, our democracy can finally win. I'm afraid it's been on a losing streak lately. So let's get with it. Get out and vote.